is coming my way. Wherever I go, hard luck is there to stay. Good luck never stays a day. Bad luck's always coming my way.
First day in Los Angeles. We literally just got off the airplane, had some lunch at In-N-Out Burger. It was Jessica's very first time. What'd you think?
It was delicious.
It was delicious.
It was so good.
The place was packed, exactly as I remember it 10 plus years ago the last time I was here. One of the things that we decided that we're going to do and film is a dark, grim tour of some of the famous graves that are here in Los Angeles, Hollywood. There's tons of cemeteries, tons of famous people buried here. We can't visit them all, but we figured we would pluck a few names out of horror history that people know and love and take you with us. First up on our grim cemetery tour is the Holy Cross Cemetery in Culver City. Guess what? Dracula is buried here. Years ago, when I first visited Los Angeles, one of the very first things I did was visit the final resting place of Dracula himself, Bela Lugosi. So it only makes sense that when Jessica and I get here, the very first thing we do is visit his grave. Oddly enough, I remembered where Bela Lugosi was buried, and that's here in the grotto at the top of the hill of Holy Cross Cemetery. Here's his final resting place. Most notable role was Dracula. Died August 16, 1956 at the age of 73 of a heart attack. Crazy. And there's a single red rose.
Normally we like to bring tokens to leave at the grave sites we visit, but we just got off the plane and didn't make a stop. We kind of forgot. So I thought maybe I would pay homage to one of his brides and hug him.
And if you do find yourself here visiting Bela Lugosi at the Holy Cross Cemetery, not too far from where he's buried, which is right behind Jessica, you will find the final resting place of Sharon Tate. Polanski. Jessica was just pointing out that it says Sharon Tate Polanski, and it's not something that you usually see that often. 1943 to 1969, our loving daughter and beloved wife of Roman. And right below it, Paul Richard Polanski, their baby.
When I think back to when I was younger and I first heard about the Manson murders, you hear mostly about Sharon Tate, how tragic the story was. And the only thing they ever really talked about was she was an up-and-coming actress, a newlywed married to Roman Polanski, and that she was pregnant. And even if it wasn't connected to the Manson murders, that story in itself is just tragic. It's very sad, and so we're here today to pay our respects to a life that was taken way too soon for both of them.
Standing in front of these massive iron gates in front of Forest Lawn, Glendale, Walt Disney's buried in here, as well as a horror icon that I absolutely love. Just look at this. That is beautiful. This is big for me. I am a massive William Castle fan. His name may not be a household name, kind of like Alfred Hitchcock, but he's like the B-rated Alfred Hitchcock. He did movies such as The Tingler, House on Haunted Hill with Vincent Price. He even had a cameo in Rosemary's Baby. If you know what he looks like, you'll find him in a phone booth. But this is his final resting place. William Castle, 1914 to 1977, forever. Overlooking this beautiful, beautiful view. And when I say view, look at this. Can you imagine looking at this? Well, spiritually speaking, for the rest of your afterlife? That's gorgeous. And a lot of people don't realize this, but a lot of the gimmicks that you see in movie theaters where, you know, Percepto or things flying across the screen all started with William Castle. He was way ahead of his time. He did this movie with Vincent Price called The Tingler, where if you screamed, this monster would form in your back and kind of take over you and kill you. Well, when people were watching it in the movie theater, William Castle had buzzers installed under some of the seats, so at certain points during the movie, they would go off and people would scream, adding to the cinematic effect. Amazing, right? Hey Jessica, do you remember the movie The House on Haunted Hill with Vincent Price?
Yeah.
Well, in the movie, there's a scene where a skeleton comes out of the water and flies across the room.
Oh, yeah.
In the theater, when it was actually playing under William Castle's reign, it would fly across the entire theater above people's heads.
That is so cool.
Right?
I would love for them to do that at one of our theaters. Or like, you know, sounds like one of those small productions theaters you would see today, you know, but like to think of it being in an actual like big production theater back then, that's cool. We spend a lot of our free time where we call home in Orlando, Florida at Walt Disney World. It was a big part of our bucket list to be able to come here to California and visit Disneyland. Now, we're going to pay homage to the man behind the mouse, Walt Disney himself.
On the wall above the garden, you'll find the name of Walter Elias Disney. Right above his wife, Lillian Bounds Disney. It's a beautiful little plaque. Standing here looking at the garden, there's no plot dedicated to Walt Disney. Somewhere here in the garden. But just look how beautiful and serene everything here looks. Check out this little statue. It's crazy to think that so many people visit the Disney parks across the world every single day, having fun, all because of this man. I wonder how many people actually come and make the pilgrimage out here to visit Walt Disney's final resting place. Jessica, it's crazy to think that because of this man, you and I found each other.
A man in his dream.
Uh-huh. I asked you to marry me in front of Walt Disney World's castle.
I know.
And you said yes.
I said yes. I said yes. 3 years ago.
Tell you what, there's just something about the California mountains. It's a little hard finding this one, but right below that statue, right here in the back, is the final resting place of actor Marty Feldman. The stone says Marty Feldman, 1934 to 1982. He made us laugh. He took my pain away. I love you, Loretta. If the name Marty Feldman doesn't sound familiar, you remember the movie Young Frankenstein starring Gene Wilder? He played Igor, or shall I say, it's pronounced Igor. Looks like Marty Feldman is facing that church. It kind of reminds me of a John Carpenter church. You ever see the movie In the Mouth of Madness?
Yeah. Oh yeah, the little town steeple.
Yeah, that's not the church, but that's kind of what it reminds me of. In the Mouth of Madness. This cemetery. I would like to be buried here. It's gorgeous. Look at, just check that out.
Oh wow. What is that up there?
Now entering the courts of remembrance. People buried inside here are Lemmy, Ronnie James Dio, Carrie Fisher, and a couple other folks. As soon as we get out of the car, we're greeted with the final resting place of actress Bette Davis, most known from her role in the movie Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Bette Davis, April 5th, 1908 to October 6th, 1989. She did it the hard way, and laying right below her name are these flowers. To give you a little perspective as to how big this little monument is, there's Jessica. Yeah, roses everywhere. The final resting place of Lemmy. From the band Motorhead. There's a plaque with his name right down here. Ian Fraser Lemmy Kilmister. Born to lose, lived to win. His signature and December 24th, 1945 to December 28th, 2015. There's a picture of his statue right there, as well as some coins and guitar picks lining the top of his plaque, and a playing card, the Ace of Spades. I remember years ago I actually got to see Motorhead performed, and I think it was the second Ozfest. in Burgettstown, Pennsylvania. He was playing on a side stage, not the main stage, oddly enough. And I remember it being so loud that for days afterwards, my hearing was very muffled. I've never had a concert do that to me. And you know what? They were actually known for being that loud. That was one of the things that they were well known for. So, crazy.
Gosh. The only time I was able to see Motorhead in concert was, I think it was 1998, at Ozfest, I believe. So I saw a lot of great people that year. And this one's for you.
I find it a little odd that there's a portrait of a family up there, and right below it is the final resting place of the man on the silver mountain, Ronnie James Dio. It says Ronnie James Dio, July 10th, 1942 to May 16th, 2010. Final resting place. And the planters symbolize, if there's any question, rock and roll, baby. I don't really know what to say about this, so I'm just gonna kind of let it happen. This is the final resting place of Carrie Fisher, who played Princess Leia in Star Wars. I grew up on Star Wars. Jessica's gonna lay a rose. Carrie Fisher, October 21st, 1956 to December 27th, 2016. Buried right next to her mother, who died the very next day, December 28th, 2016. I grew up on the Star Wars movies, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. Carrie Fisher was probably one of the very first crushes of mine. Hers and Judith O'Dea from Night of the Living Dead. So it was like horror and science fiction all wrapped up in one. This is beautiful. Right now the sun is high up in the sky, which is funny because one of the actors from one of my favorite movies, Near Dark, his final resting place is right here, Mr. Bill Paxton, 1955 to 2017. You are in our hearts forever. The cemetery is beautiful. Aside from playing the part of Severin in Catherine Bigelow's 80s vampire movie, he also played in Tombstone, Predator, Apollo 13, and a weird movie called The Dark Backwards. Until next time, Bill. I've been wanting to check out this historical cemetery my entire life. There are 2 people buried in here that I really want to see today. Hollywood Forever Cemetery. Buried beneath this tree, this dying tree in Hollywood Forever Cemetery, is Hollywood legend Vampira. If you're a fan of horror, you should know who Vampira is. If you don't, think Elvira, but a lot older. I'm talking like 1950s campy horror TV hostess. And if you've seen Tim Burton's Ed Wood starring Johnny Depp, Lisa Marie played her in that movie. Just look at that. Beautiful, right? It looks like people have stopped and kissed it.
I've always heard about leaving kisses on a tombstone, and I've never done it before, but who am I to pass up the opportunity? Today, I just happen to be wearing red. Put on a bit extra. Use a top up anyway, but let's see how well it stays. Ready? Here I go. Like right here?
Do it right above her head.
Right here?
Yeah.
Okay. Didn't leave very much, but there's a little
dark
bit.
Spot.
That's my face. My lips face. My lipstick didn't leave much of an impression. I didn't think it would because I wear very mattifying lipstick. Today I'm actually wearing MAC's Ruby Woo as a lipstick. But you know, it probably wears off when it rains next anyway, so I'm just happy to be here and pay homage to her.
Until next time, Vampira. Until next time. Now, I don't know why, but every time I see palm trees, it amuses me. Like, palm trees in a cemetery. Parked amongst the rest of the cars is this old hearse. I'm guessing they do the tours in this for Hollywood Forever Cemetery. But look how beautiful this thing is, right? Here's the back. That, my friends, is gorgeous. Goth rock legend Rozz Williams of Christian Death. He's buried in that black rotunda on top of that building. Well, his ashes are laid to rest there. Jessica, wait till you see this. This is like fit for the godfather of goth, right? Like, I can see Rozz Williams buried in here. Well, his ashes.
Oh, bamboo.
It's beautiful.
I take your picture through the gate.
I just wonder where he is. Oh, wow. Look at this. Oh my Lord. Would you look at this? Somebody's here. I can hear Christian Death playing in the background.
Is he upstairs?
I think so. He has to be.
Oh, where's the stairs? I want to see that.
This is beautiful. I love you, baby girl.
There's the stairs. Found it.
It's been said that Rozz Williams did not like the goth label, so a lot towards the end of his lifetime, he did a lot more spoken word stuff. It ultimately ended on April 1st. Westwood Memorial Park is a hidden cemetery for the most part, but it is packed with all kinds of famous folks.
I think it was when we were visiting Walt Disney's grave yesterday that I picked up a leaf to put into my pressed flowers book, and this morning I moved it and an itty bitty little newborn caterpillar fell out, and I was like, oh no, and he crawled into my phone case and stayed there, and I just put him on a flower over here, a little hitchhiker.
The final resting place of one of my favorite actors, Don Knotts. Actually, one of my favorite movies by him is The Ghost and Mr. Chicken. But he was in all kinds of different things, like The Incredible Mr. Limpet and The Andy Griffith Show. Alright, I can honestly say this is probably one of the most elaborate and awesome stones I've ever seen in my life. This place is massive, and there's so many beautiful little stones here. But this one right here on the bottom, can you read the plaque? You should know the name. Heather O'Rourke was the little girl in the movie Poltergeist 1, 2, and 3. Heather O'Rourke, beloved daughter and sister, February 27th, 1975 to February 1st, 1988. Crazy. If you don't know the story of Heather O'Rourke, basically she died of septic shock for an intestine issue at a very young age. Sadly, we have to cut our cemetery video short. We were at Westwood Memorial Park and they kindly asked us to stop filming. It turns out that here in Los Angeles, well, in most cemeteries really, our camera is too professional looking. So they said no professional photography, no professional video. We had to turn it off.
Wherever I come, bad luck is coming my way. Wherever I go, hard luck is there to stay. Good luck never stays a day. Bad luck's always coming my way.